Hey there. So this is our second training video as part of the basic training package. So here I'm going to cover a few topics like running searches with multiple topics, where it's necessary to add some context and give MotivBase some context on what we're searching for. So I'll jump right into it here. In the previous example, I had run a search for probiotics. So I'll start there again, but this time I'm going to tell MotivBase I'm interested in exploring the topic of probiotics, but in the context of skin or skincare. So one of the first things I'm doing here is just renaming my workspace so that I can also run a comparison here. And skin. So what I'm going to do here is add a second topic. And generally we recommend looking for a topic that is broad and as colloquial or more likely to be used by the consumer in discussions about issues. So in this case, instead of using a topic like skincare, I would much rather use a topic like skin because I might be discussing, let's say a particular skin issue or benefit that probiotics gives me. So in this case, I'll just pick the topic of skin. You'll see instantly the relationships here changed, and that's basically showing us that MotivBase now understands a new context and has created a new topic universe at the intersection point between probiotics and skin. And it seems to revolve a lot around some specific micronutrients as well as skin issues, acne, eczema, things like that, inflammation, irritation, things like that, that really seems to dominate here, which in and of itself is fascinating in terms of insights about what people associate probiotic skincare with in consumer culture. So I just hit apply here. It's running its search, analyzing over 2 million topics here, which is huge. It's showing us how big this universe is. This data comes from almost 100,000 consumers. And it's telling me that immediately the core market is only 15 million individuals around probiotic skin, with an addressable market size of about 68 million. But it's in the early majority stage. So that's actually quite interesting because what it's pointing to is that this is a trend that is definitely seems to be picking up. Usually we find, when something hits the early majority and starts to address more than 30% of an addressable market, it's starting to pick up steam and really enter the mainstream zeitgeist. And then, of course, I can, as usual, look at the ethnographic insights around the topic, or, examine the sociodemographics and so on. In this particular case, I actually want to run a bit of a comparison, just to see, if there's a difference between a search for probiotics in general versus a search for probiotics in the context of skin. So I'll run that here. I press that plus sign there. It opened up a new workspace for me, and now I'm selecting probiotics. I'm going to rename that workspace and run that search. Now, when the results come back, what I'm going to do is click on a compare. On the right side of your screen here, you get an option to actually compare two searches. You can go as far as comparing 3. So I ran the comparison here, and what it's immediately telling me is, first and foremost, the market size for probiotics overall is actually small. Even the future potential seems to be small compared to probiotics in the context of skin. So when applied to the category of skincare, it seems to be a lot more relevant and also a little bit more mature. The second thing I also see is the broad discussion of probiotics seems to really over-index on the wealthier classes, while probiotics in the context of skincare seems to index more towards the middle classes. Again, just an indication that it's more addressing a specific issue, for example. The other thing I also see is that it severely over-indexes on couples with children, probiotics and skin, whereas probiotics by itself over-indexes on single people and those without children. So it's just fascinating how many differences there really are in the sociodemographics and the attitudes and motivations between these two topics. So this is really how you run a search where you add a secondary context. And I'll go back to probiotics and skin here. You add a secondary context to an existing search term in order to help MotivBase understand what you're actually searching for, and that allows you to get more poignant results, run comparisons, save them, explore them deeper, and so on and so forth. That's it for this installment. In the next installment, I'll cover some additional aspects like selecting some of the options here in terms of sociodemographics, as well as some of the more intricate topics that revolve around running searches where the results, especially in terms of maturity, may not match your expectations, especially when you look at product sales data. So we'll talk more about that in the next video. Thanks for watching.